my job and goal is also to be a coach. I love teaching. That's probably how I'm in this role is, I need to make sure that the people that we do decide to bring on, that we really invest in them. They're an asset to the company, to really ensure that we're developing them and getting the most out of them, and that they're happy and putting the most in.
Hey guys, welcome to the Wine, Whiskey, and Weed Show. I'm here with Benjamin Larson. He's the CEO of Vertosa. And I think, Ben, you would want to have to correct me, but Vertosa, you're one of the leading ingredients and supply partners to a lot of companies, which, a lot of brands which are out there, which may not even know that behind the scene it was you guys, right? So
I think, not going to argue that label.
Yeah, so appreciate you, contributing to the whole product development part of the supply chain of especially the cannabis drinks industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you guys do much more than that. So I'll have you introduce to our audience, please. Just want to bring, after that, once you're done, we want to talk more about, I personally want to know more about leadership and management, and especially in the remote work, which we've been chatting about, and how to drive performance, in a small to medium size companies, right? So over to you, Ben.
Yeah, thank you. So I mean, you hit the nail on the head. In short, we're an active ingredient manufacturer and support partner for our infused product makers. And so we really, in the first few years of our business, cut our teeth on the beverage category and helped build that up. Played an integral role with organizations like the Cannabis Beverage Association and just many of the brands that you see in the space. And since then, we've also branched out into other fast-acting formats. That's really where we believe the future is. And so fast-acting gummies, lozenges, and just other infused products. And so the nice thing is, for the beverage category, it gives opportunities for extensions into other categories and having more SKUs on the shelves. And anyone that's operating in cannabis space, starts to understand really quickly like how important that is as an operator in the space. We launched the company about 4 years ago. We're just about to actually celebrate our 4th birthday, just following the Cannabis Drinks Expo in San Francisco. So we're excited about that. And over the past 4 years, we had 2 goals. One was, just be a great supply chain partner. As you said, be a leading ingredient manufacturing space. That's great from a business perspective. But what we really set out to do was create the best culture that we could in cannabis and create a company that really emulated the kind of aura that some of the early tech companies really created. It's like the type of company where, team members are proud to wear their swag to conferences. And, when someone else interacts with our team, they're trying to find a way to come work with us. And, we're really proud of what we've built at Vertosa, and proud to say that we do get a lot of inbound requests for people to come work with us. And
nice.
Frankly, that's how we found some of our best employees. It's not that we set a rec out and then went and found the best person for it. Sometimes we just meet the best people, and then we find a way to get them into our company.
Fantastic. So let's go on your role, right? CEO, what kind of team? What are your direct reports? Because we want to start there and to understand the org structure that you have out there. Who reports to you and who's your sort of right and left, and how have you made yourself comfortable?
Yeah, absolutely. We've been talking about this a lot lately, actually, as a team, because as we approach our anniversary, we like to just reflect on how we're doing and how it is that we operate and what makes us different. And in a sense, I do have my direct reports, and I'll talk about the org structure in general, but I know everyone on my team, and I have, everyone on my team has direct access to me. And anytime I'm talking to them, it's as if they are my peer. And, my goal as a leader is to make sure I'm surrounded by the smartest people I possibly can, hopefully ones that have far more skill sets than I do. It's impossible for me to know everything. And so I want experts in every other category. As far as my direct reports and our general structure, we really break the company up into 4 categories. We have our back office, which generally is made up of people operations or HR. quality, which we like to hold separate from all of our other departments, and then our kind of chief of staff org. And this is a lot of like cross-functional project management. And really the whole objective of that team is to ensure that we are supporting the company, that the employees are happy, that they have the tools that they need to succeed, and that we're helping really have eyes on their professional development. So not just their effectiveness as an employee, but that they're achieving what they want to achieve in their career. And then what the back office supports is our kind of three main operating orgs. And so we have our innovation org, which has R&D with ingredients, but then also the applications of those ingredients and product development. And so that's all led by Austin Stevenson, our Chief Innovation Officer, and Dr. Harold Hahn, our CSO, Chief Scientist. And the two of them also happen to be my co-founders. And so we also have our business development team, which has marketing, strategy, and sales. That is led by one of our new hires, actually, Karen Newkirk, and she is our EVP of Business Development. And then we have our operations team, which is really the engine that supports everything that we do in Correct. Yeah. And it's actually a pretty complicated team, but it's all led up by our VP of Operations, Misha Yerlich. And what makes it challenging is that, yes, we have our headquarters facility that has, all about efficiency and capacity and serves both the hemp and the California cannabis side of the business. But we have our remote operations where we have partner facilities in about, I think, 6 other states and Canada at this point. And then we have mobile offerings where we can access just about any legal market. And it's just a kind of complicated logistics, coordination to really serve all this as fluidly with the utmost quality and make sure that people are getting the exact same ingredients in every legal market that they operate.
Yeah, I get it. So what I want to ask you is, how are you staying focused on your time? Like if you had to audit, right? That, okay, ultimately it's all about that. Like, are you spending time on high paying activities or low paying activities? Is your time, are you out delegating properly and so on, right? I can imagine with cross-functional things like that, and especially this whole remote thing coming as well. And I personally speaking, for me, what's going on this is a lot of time is going in team organization and hiring and sort of pumping them up and all that kind of stuff. So are you where are you spending your time, number one, majorly, and what personally you think have worked for you as high paying activities where you yourself think that I should spend more time there? And these are some activities which I've identified, and I use this process to sort of identify and then figure out a way to find someone or delegate this.
Yeah, it's a complicated question, and my answer to it is complicated because it's something that I struggle with persistently, and I'm constantly trying to refine. And maybe that's part of the job as a CEO is like to really understand where is your time most needed at this point in time. And when you are growing and scaling a fast growing startup, we've grown our business 3x year over year, and that doesn't come without pain. And so one time it might be really pressing on sales and helping the sales team nail key targets, building the relationships with the other CEOs, because, in reality, it's not that big of a market. So it's pretty easy for us to be like, here are the, 50 companies that we really want to work with, and let's make sure we build relationships with them. But, if I'm spending a lot of time doing that, then I'm probably not neglecting, but like certainly not spending as much time on operations or staff development. Both of which are very important. And so there have been these ebbs and flows where, all right, we ramp up the business and then operationally we go through these transitions of scale, right? And so it's like, sometimes you add people, sometimes you're adding equipment.
But do you always feel that you've always, after like a month, you think like, oh my God, it's just all this firefighting. There's always, what I mean? Like, it's just every day, as a CEO and owner's job is really every day, small problem solving one at a time. And then it comes to a point there, oh my God, I just want to focus on like relationships instead of all this small things, I mean, it's important things, I agree, but does that suffocate you? And how do you motivate yourself just to keep on, like, this is, as you said rightly, this is the part of the game. This is what we signed up for, right? Like, what is it, so how do you convince yourself every day?
So, in the beginning, when the team was smaller, it was just a lot of persistent firefighting, an endless list of to-dos. And what I train myself over time, I'm a better CEO. I can confidently say I'm a better CEO today than I was when we first started the company, right? And so what I've really worked on over the last 4 years, especially, is prioritization of my time and what I'm going to accomplish every day. And so every morning, and now I do this with the assistance of a chief of staff, is I sit down and I'm like, all right, what needs to get done today? What is going on that I just need to have visibility into? And then what can I get to if I have extra time or can wait till tomorrow? And what that allows me to do is really segment my time and prepare for the day and make sure that I'm accomplishing exactly what I need to accomplish for the sake of the company, right? What's going to create the most value? And sometimes it's hard, behind my Zoom window right here, actually, I have, our P&L statements. I have a model that I'm updating, from the past 6 months. And that's sometimes big, hairy work. And it's something that for me personally is easy for me to kind of push off in order to do some of these other things that we've already talked about, right? So at the end of the day, it is kind of doing that task assignment for yourself. And then also making sure that you're persistently building your team to just create massive amounts of value. Culture is has a huge importance to me. Like I said in the beginning, I wanted to build the best culture for this company, but as a CEO, my time to be able to cultivate that really became constrained pretty early on. And so I think we were about 10 people when I decided to hire someone to really focus on the culture of the company and to be a resource for everyone in the company, someone that any of our employees could go and talk to and feel like they had someone to listen to them. And that has been a huge game changer. So Lisa Raja, she's our EVP of people operations. She has become such an integral part of building who we are. And because of her, we haven't had much churn in our company. And we are able to now hire and onboard great employees. And we have an incredibly complicated business. And so, onboarding those employees is really important. We have this really great onboarding education system that we built. And it's all because of Lisa and her, being able to protect her time to focus on this. And so it's like an extension of what I had originally intended, but bringing someone on that can do it even better than I could.
So let's go there.
Fully focus on.
Let's go there on onboarding and retention, right? What kind of things that you guys use that has worked for you?
Yeah, we partnered with a great company called Green Flower. They're a media company and education company in the space, and they helped us create a learning management system. And so nice. each vertical in our company has a separate track. It runs them through. There's some common company vision and background, origin story, all that. But if you're on the sales team, you get into the sales funnel and the natural steps and the resources that are available to you. We've built, I'm an engineer in my heart, right? And so, we've just built system after system to really kind of create structure and process so that, people don't have to think so hard about like what is next or where are various resources. And so, our whole company is built on, HubSpot, which originally was birthed as a CRM system, but really has become more robust. And so it's tied to our sales efforts, our operations tickets. And so, from beginning to end, our clients are managed internally by the system. And so it's these various things that make it just really easy for us to get people into the company and get them familiar with the system so that we can focus on helping them be more effective and helping them progress in their career. So,
I think you said 3x growth every sort of year, which is a fantastic, number to hit. I personally think that, growth solves a lot of problems. When you're growing, it's just a different energy in a company.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, you have to sort of put all this SOPs, trainings to make sure that, they feel that there is a structure coming and it's just not like monkey business going on, right? Because they feel that someone smart is putting policies and structures and SOPs. At the same time, on one side, you're stretching them with like task changes and title changes or whatever it is, right? To just keep on going. So personally, I want to ask you is, let's say, have you seen, I'm sure I already know the answer, but it's so hard to go in a detailed empathetic explanation of a process where it's going to eat up your time, versus just simply taking a shortcut and saying, just do this way. It's simple. My question is, let's say this way, that a lot of times, sometimes as you grow, you have to justify one person of your decision of why you think we should start something in New York, let's say, and then you have to justify 3 more people because it's all remote here and there. And then it wastes your time to explain one more important person you forgot to explain that why you thinking like this. How do you roll out a decision in your company? How do you do that?
Yeah, it's a great point. So we have a series of standing meetings that really allow us to kind of gain consensus and then roll out decisions, right? And so we have our senior management team, which is basically our VPs and above, and we meet every other week and we talk about strategic initiatives, things coming down the road, who we want to be in 6 months to 12 months, that kind of stuff. Every other off week, we're meeting with all of our department heads. And so that's directors and above. And what that allows us to do is really focus on kind of some more of the tactical, the tactical items that help the business keep moving along. Mm-hmm. And then there's always opportunity to kind of start rolling down, strategic initiatives that were decided on in the management meetings. And then if we need feedback and input from the directors, like that gives us an opportunity.
That's nice. So it's very much of a collaborative, already a collaborative approach on. Yeah. So they're part of the decision anyway.
Yeah. I mean, if I, and I've often, kind of defined my leadership style as empathetic and kind of consensus building. Right.
Got it.
So I don't want anything to ever be a surprise. Everyone should always know. And so what we did in the very beginning is actually establish a rock solid brand foundation. Like, what is our purpose? What is our big, hairy, audacious goal, to steal something from Jim Collins, right? The BHAG. What are our habits and our values? Even like, what's our promise to our customer, and what's the persona that our company speaks with? And like, we spent a lot of time on this. Like, every word in that brand foundation matters. It took us weeks, and then every year we spent, several days just really reevaluating and making sure that we were on track. And once you have that established and everyone knows it, then it's actually really easy to make decisions as a business. For instance, our entire first year of operations, our core value was trust, and identifying trust as our one core value that mattered the most, whether it was internal communications, external relationships. It really helped us, quickly solve problems. In the nano emulsion space, so to speak, there were a lot of unknowns. There were a lot of products out on the market that were kind of early and maybe not having consistent potency, or anything. There's a whole litany of issues. Mm-hmm. A lot of people were claiming clear and flavorless, and maybe that was because there was no cannabinoids in it. Who knows? But what we decided from day one is that, hey, we know this technology pretty good. And if someone does indeed have something better than us, we think we're smart enough, and we definitely know we work hard enough to catch up and learn. And so anytime we figured something out, even if it was bad news regarding our ingredients, we put the data out there. We shared it with the customer that we might have been collaborating with, and discovered it. And we never swept anything under the rug, which we knew was kind of endemic in the space. I think a year after we started, a lot of articles started coming out about, products on the shelves that weren't really meeting the efficacy that they were advertising. We knew all that already because we had done, the internal analysis of all these products. We didn't put the information out there because that wasn't our prerogative. That wouldn't have built trust. But solving the issues and being truthful about what we knew, it did. And so, over time, that's what we really invested in. And even just the other day, it's like, we had worked on a product and it wasn't as stable as we were expecting it would be. And someone asked, what do we do? I'm like, what do you think we do? It's like, you call the customer and tell them what happened immediately, And so, this is just like, this is how you, again, build efficiency, create process.
How are you aligning your
culture?
How are you aligning your, let's say, team for your mission again and again, right? So do you do like once a month sort of a rewards and recognition, or any sort of meeting on Zoom so entire team is there? Or what are the things that you're personally using on a weekly basis, monthly, just to get them going?
Yeah, I will acknowledge that my team, much like my wife, often encourage me and tell me that I could probably give more compliments and more awards. But what we do is we meet every week as an entire team on Zoom, because this virtual world that we found ourselves in, we have all hands every week, and we talk about the accomplishments, the challenges. We always have like kind of a cultural education opportunity, depending on what the various months are for DEI or what have you. And in those times, I do a little bit of talking, but really I leave it up to the other leaders of our company to really identify.
So they're all giving their updates. Like, give me specifics on how that call looks like.
Yeah. So, our sales team will come in and the sales director will talk about the wins, like what the pipeline is looking like, what we can expect to see in the rest of the month, and really call out like specific team members that really did an exceptional job for that team, right? And then we move to the operations team, the innovation team, the back office. So everyone has an opportunity to really give kudos to
share their wins and sort of,
yeah. And then, usually I take the last, 5 minutes of the hour to kind of like pop in and, there might be something big on the mind as far as like what's globally happening in the cannabis world, or just something higher level, or sometimes very specific that I saw throughout the past week that I really want to draw people's attention to. It could be something as simple as, we were onboarding with a new software program recently, and we did so because one of our business development reps actually did an analysis of the software and did an ROI and basically put it into a nice report and sent it over to me. And it took 2 minutes to review and say yes. And I showed it to everyone. I'm like, look, I just want to give Andy a lot of kudos. This was unprompted. He brought this to me and he got an immediate yes, an allocation of budget for something. And the beauty of it gives rewards to him, but also encourages everyone else to kind of follow suit. And so if I can get everyone in the team doing an ROI analysis every time they want to spend company resources, I think the company will be in a pretty great place. It really kind of foster that entrepreneurial spirit.
Got it. And how much time do you spend, Ben, personally on people part, like hiring, let's say in the first, recruiting, headhunting, sometimes you just know that you want that person in your team, or like more of you out there trying to look for the talent, do you even spend time there?
I do. I spend a lot of time there. In fact, I follow the old Silicon Valley adage of hire slow and fire fast, right? And this is really an effort to make sure that the people that we're adding to the team are really fit for the team. And, for kind of more entry level positions, we can move a little bit faster and gain consensus. I'm still in a mode of wanting to meet everyone that is going to be joining the team. And so, we have 40 employees right now. Everyone that joins the team, I have the opportunity to meet. I often take them out for breakfast or lunch, like early on in their tenure.
Nice.
But for the more senior positions, there's been multiple people where I've known them for 1-2 years before really getting to a place of like, oh yeah, this makes sense now, right? And that's an ongoing cultivation. A key role of a CEO, especially as companies get larger, if you can chisel out that time to be a brand ambassador and be out there and just constantly, whether it's for sales or partnerships or key team members, that is like an important role of the CEO. When it comes to, recruiting and building the team, I've heard numbers, is like, this should always be 30% of your job in some fashion, right?
Good to know.
And I believe it. It's the other aspect of it is like the post hiring, right? Like my job and goal is also to be a coach. I love teaching. That's probably how I'm in this role is, I need to make sure that the people that we do decide to bring on, that we really invest in them. They're an asset to the company to really ensure that we're developing them and getting the most out of them, and that they're happy and putting the most in, right? So it's just ongoing work. And, again, I'm just really proud of what we've been able to do at the company to ensure that we're constantly aligning. Really, it's an exercise in just aligning incentives, right? So a company has a certain incentive with a certain employee, and that employee has incentives with the company. And if we get those aligned, it can be a very symbiotic relationship. Maybe it doesn't have the same end goal or the same vision, but we can really maximize that time we do spend together.
Sure, Ben. So let's wrap it up with one final question.
Sure.
Just give me a one or two real case examples where you thought that it was a pure like self CEO execution, or maybe it's just you that sort of you felt good about it, because you just had a problem and you solved it in a good way.
Yeah. Well, I'll use a real recent example because we talked about it a lot today, and that's the structure of our organization. Organizations change a lot over time, especially as they grow. People wear many hats, and then sometimes it's refining those hats. Sometimes it's completely changing. I mean, you have to often weigh, someone's loyalty and effectiveness in the company to like the future trajectory, and either find realignment or what have you. And not only with that, you have added layers of complexity with like tenure. When you're a three person company and you add a few people, it's pretty easy to understand what the seniority is. You fast forward 4 years, people develop at different rates. What is the impact of that, right? And so what we just did is went through this reorganization process where we established that we were going to have these 4 key orgs, the back office, the innovation team, business development, and operation. Well, innovation and R&D used to be separate. Expansion used to be its own org, and because we were going into these other markets, and it was really started out led by one person, it evolved into being both business development and operations, and it became a little bit confusing as to like when handoffs were being made. And what I recognize as CEO is a lot of the inefficiencies in having these different organizations and all, frankly, all lines leading up to me, and feeling the need to build better efficiency to support the growth into the future, right? And to better align initiatives and objectives. And so we just got done with that. And in that effort, there was, moving around of people's seniority, there was changes in titles, and, just a lot of conversations. I think in total, we had 15 different title changes. And a number of different, oh, you're no longer reporting to this person, but you're reporting to someone else. And that person's a VP, or that person's a director. And so, as you can imagine, it's a lot of work, especially from an empathetic perspective.
Yeah, it's exactly hard. It's not as easy as it sounds, especially for your old people to sort of, you convincing them that this is the way to.
Yeah. So, working through that successfully and getting into hiring some new senior hires that kind of slot in between in some of these cases. Going into the second half of the year with a full headed team and ready to really, scale and address the needs of the market. Really proud of that. Other than that, I think something I could keep a little bit shorter is just foreseeing the needs of the companies from a capital perspective and building the network and the reputation and relationships with investors to ensure that we have the capital we need when we need it. And that's been, an ongoing effort over the last 4 years, as you can imagine. And so, now the company is getting to a point where we can really be in control of our destiny. You talked about economies of scale and money helping. And, we have reached that scale where we have more levers to pull and we can be a lot more efficient with our business. So the venture capital certainly helps, and we're really appreciative of all our investors, but it is my personal goal to not be reliant on that for too much longer.
Ben, do you have 5 more minutes?
Sure.
All right. So I think let's do this one. I think this will bring a lot of value with, some real sort of questions, right? So a quick answer you can give to this kind of question, like a situation I'll ask you. Okay. So let's say you have an old employee, right? That they've become a little complacent, the entitlement is kicking in.
Yeah.
How do you communicate to that person with an honest truth, that, hey, this is going on? How would you do it?
A few ways, right? And so one is the baseline of what the expectations are in the company. And we have often, recommended books and really have kind of talked about them as management teams. And so one book that really stands out is Radical Candor by Kim Scott. This is a book that my entire management team has read. And really, it's about how to be direct from a place of love, right? So you're not being an asshole. You're not just constantly picking and pointing at people, but really be like, that person has an objective. So-and-so wants to be a COO someday. Well, in order for them to be a COO, and in order for me to really fulfill my role as a CEO, I need to get that person there. And I need to give them all the chances and opportunities that they need to get there. And so if you're actually staying true to that, you're not going to let them get into a place of complacency. And the way we kind of have a forcing mechanism for that is a real dedication to our review process. It's not just some bureaucratic process we started. We actually started it when we were less than 10 people. And so it means a lot in our company, and we do it every quarter. So we have, it's not a huge effort every quarter.
So even the right, your second in charge has to go through that, for example.
Yes, I go through it. Got it. And we do 360 manager reviews, and really, it's all about an understanding that we are a team, and we all want the same goal. We all want to win, right? And frankly, that's part of our culture, I guess. We don't want anyone on this team that doesn't want to win, because, and it's not just about winning for winning's sake. It goes back to that brand foundation. We truly believe that we can unlock the healing powers of the plant by creating access and making it approachable, to the broader public. And so that's what our team fights for every day. And that's what we're truly trying to achieve and win at. And so knowing that that's the goal, and knowing that we're all bought into that, then we all need to help each other achieve it. And the only way we do that is to do it together and to be honest and open with each other.
So a second question I wanted to ask was, let's say you have this amazing performer, and that they are not with you for long, right? It's just another year or two. Yeah. But how do you yourself, still talk to them, and it's temporary, with that passion that, hey, let's talk about mission statement. Because ultimately it's very few people who have signed up with you, let's say, who want to ride till the end, right? But still, how do you tell yourself that it's okay? Everyone's still.
I think that removing any of that anxiety that might exist is what maximizes your chances of keeping and retaining that person. The minute you fear you might lose them, a high performer will smell that, and they'll see it as an opportunity, right? And so you have to actually truly believe that you're creating the best opportunity for them. And if you ever reach a point where you're not providing the best opportunity for them to grow, then you should want them to leave. You should want them to go achieve something great for themselves. And that is that is the true mentality of all this. And so,
true, agree.
And that's why you want to hire slow, frankly. That's why you want to make sure that the person you bring on the team is right for the team, and that they're going to be dedicated to the cause. If you showed me someone that is just a true A player on the sales, but he or she is going to be toxic to the culture of the company, it's a no immediately. And so we're very much a culture first company. We make sure that people that we bring in are dedicated. And frankly, we haven't churned anyone of high performance, and I know we're still young relatively. We're only 4 years old, but 2 to 3 years in the cannabis space is a really long time, and so I think we'll just keep going with the confidence that, people will be here as long as is mutually beneficial. And then if that time comes, then it's probably not right for both of us. And so,
it's a good point. I think seeing it from that lens absolutely makes sense. It's like, why are you not the best employer for that person, right? So makes sense. One final one, on the current state of remote, where we're juggling between in-house workforce and remote workforce, and then as we discussed before the call, a little bit of pros and cons. I think it comes down to trust. Personally for me, it's just purely doing both the things. There is no middle ground now. So you just find a self-motivator in remote team. Hopefully they work with that same passion. Otherwise you let them go soon, right? If you just think that you have to do babysitting and those kind of things. What's your take on having them more involved? Like, how do you what you guys do that remote people feel really inclined, and then they're really committed to your vision?
Yeah, we've as soon as we entered this remote realm, and we have kind of eased back into some sort of hybrid nature, and presume that will be the constant like ebb and flow from here on out. We just kind of accepted that, and we didn't allow ourselves to weight in-person interactions any greater than that of the virtual interactions. And so, how do we continue to build this culture with everyone? And really, it's an exercise in just equity and inclusion, right? It's like thinking of it from that matter. It's like, what is the perspective of one of our remote employees, and how do we make sure that they feel included? So, if we're having a company party, for instance, like an in-person party, we're going to create an opportunity not only for them to participate in that in some virtual fashion, if not flying them out to be a part of it, if they're truly not able to be there, but also giving them an opportunity to kind of have a little bit of virtual culture of their own, right? It's like, okay, so we can, create a space for virtual employees, but we can also allow them to, gather amongst themselves and create their own, their own culture.
Mm-hmm.
And then another aspect of that is, frankly, investing in bringing them in person, if that is of their desire. Some people like that more than others. Some people are just truly effective and happy being remote. And so understanding that everyone, again, has their own personality, their own drivers, and really understanding that you don't need to, it's not about catering to two different parties. It's about understanding each employee as an individual and addressing their needs. And that oftentimes sounds unscalable. But with the right culture and the right tools, I think it is very much achievable, and kind of frankly our responsibility as leaders, right? But I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's not easy. It's certainly not something that I have all the answers to, but understanding that we will never have all the answers and just paying attention to it and giving resources to it is important. Anything that you're saving on a reduction in office space, funnel that to ensuring that your virtual employees are feeling taken care of and feeling a part of the fold, right? Sure. To that end, our weekly all hands, we could very well hold that in person. Most of our executive team here is in the Bay Area. We do it all virtual. So it's kind of like a virtual first or default virtual kind of strategy, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good, Ben. Anything else you have for me?
No, that's it. This is great, man. I really appreciate the opportunity. I'm looking forward to next week and seeing you and everyone at the Cannabis Drinks Expo and talking a little bit more about the products. But my true passion is really in helping people achieve their dreams, whether it's through their companies and products or our employees. And so really appreciate the opportunity to talk about this. I don't get to do it that often.
Great. No, I think it was a good chat. I'm sure I learned, there are some good pointers there. Appreciate, Ben. I think I will see you soon then.
Thanks so much, Sid. I'll talk to you soon.